Hey, what's up everyone? This is Nathan Cross checking in, and today I will be doing a shoe review on the Reebok CrossFit Speed Trainers. Now, from all the hype and promotion that's been sort of surrounding the shoe, especially around the CrossFit Invitational, the CrossFit Open, and a lot of athletes performing in the shoe on social media, from what I've seen, I decided to take these shoes, give them the most vigorous training and testing process that I possibly could, and this is what I came up with. Now, from doing quite a bit of research about the shoe and the vigorous testing process that I undertook, I learned that this shoe was originally intended to help enhance overall performance speed. Now, if you know anything about CrossFit or experienced it yourself, maybe a little bit or a lot, you know that efficiency is the key in CrossFit. And based on all of the descriptions pertaining directly to the Reebok CrossFit Speed Trainers, this shoe is all about helping you to produce the greatest possible output in the shortest period of time. The shoe does come with a multi-directional traction pattern, which did do pretty well overall. I found that I had pretty good traction on multiple surfaces and pretty decent, especially on lateral stops, but I did suffer a little bit of slippage. Ultimately, it may depend on the surface that you're working on, but I did test them on grass, turf, and concrete. The tread is looking pretty good after 4 to 5 weeks of vigorous workouts, but just keep in mind the strip of Rope Pro on the inside of the midsole, that is an extension that Reebok did keep from the Nano 5.0s, but it does take up a significantly smaller portion of this shoe compared to the 5.0s. As a result, you may find that you do face some slippage when rope climbing, like I did, when not being cognizant of this smaller Rope Pro area. So if you don't try at least to be a little bit more precise about where your foot is making contact with the rope, you may run into some problems. The shoes are said to be constructed with a compression molded foam that are said to be ultra soft, which does focus on overall shock resistance. But it is important that I call attention to the words used, ultra soft, because that's not exactly the experience that I had when testing the shoes fresh out the box and using them 4 or 5 weeks later. Just to give you some context, they're not nearly as soft as, say, the Nano Pump Fusions, but they may provide a little bit more shock resistance compared to the Nano 5.0s. But generally, they did provide pretty much of an average ride on the box jumps, the double unders, which I really did do a bunch of the general squats and heavy lifting, and then everything else felt pretty okay. Thinking about the overall support system, I found that the forefoot of the outsole does have a decent amount of flexibility as a result of the fast frame that they did incorporate. The upper, however, which is a new piece of tech, is somewhat less flexible than the Kevlar mesh combination of the Nano 5.0s. But I do find that the new mono mesh upper that they did incorporate is flexible enough for sprinting and supportive enough. I also found that the heel cup support is significant, in addition to the coating that they've used around the perimeter of the toe area. This does contribute to the overall strength and support from the upper feel, especially giving me some extra stability during the lifts and lateral movements when doing sprints and footwork. And this is something that I discussed ad nauseum when doing the Nano 5.0 Nike Metcon 1 comparison. Now, one of the iconic standing points for this shoe is the fact that it's about speed, and speed doesn't necessarily imply more comfort in terms of endurance-based exercises or movements or workouts in general. So if you're gonna be doing a workout that will require you to be working for an extended period of time, for example, Murph or something of that nature, I would generally not suggest wearing these type of shoes. They'll feel good maybe during sprints or maybe shorter workouts, but honestly, these shoes are only going to provide you with a certain amount of comfort to a certain extent. The longer the workout gets, you will definitely get a little bit more comfortable in the feet area, like I did. When going around tight corners in these cone drills and ladder drills, making hard cuts, I did feel pretty secure. In spite of the fact that it is a low cut shoe, the mesh upper and respective overlay did really give me that extra feel of support compared to the Kevlar mesh combination on the 5.0, which is what I addressed previously. The last thing to address is that I did feel pretty protected and locked down during the rope climbs and the toes to bar. And especially with the toes to bar, it's not like I'm intentionally banging my feet onto the bars, but generally I did feel a little bit less, significantly less amount of protection when making contact with the bar wearing the 5.0s and the Pump Fusions compared to the slightly more coated upper around the toe area of the Speed Trainers. Now when I say transition, I'm really referring to the flow from heel to toe during any movement possible. The shoes are pretty close to the ground and not nearly as flat as the 5.0s or the Pump Fusions, as you can see with the change in the outsole design, but they are still about a 3mm drop, which is definitely a good thing if you're talking about sprinting. Now with such a minimal drop, this does call a little bit of attention towards the insole. There is a minimal amount of arch support, so if you suddenly have those kind of issues, looking for shoes with a little bit more arch support, I'd suggest going with a different model, maybe the Nano Pump Fusion, something with a little bit of support or at least more cushioning per se. But generally, you're not going to get too much of that support if you're wearing the speed trainers. Breathability of shoes have never really been an issue for me, but I have noticed a significant decrease in breathability going from the 5.0s to the speed trainers. You can probably see that the mesh Kevlar combination is a little bit thinner compared to the mono mesh. I do find that it is pretty breathable around the toe box area and around some portions of the upper of the shoe, but I do notice a little bit less breathability in the speed trainers compared to the previous model. The first thing to think about is the fact that they come a little bit large, so I would suggest ordering half a size down. Overall, for about $100 US, I have found that the Reebok speed trainers are definitely a good investment. Definitely my go-to shoe right now.